Buenos dias, chicos. Muy diferente.
Muy diferente.
Immediately, I just started speaking in Spanish. Finding these little things that I didn't expect to enjoy. I do not want to speak in English. Ask me in Spanish like you're not from Mexico. Staring at me like in shock.
Espero que cada día esté mejor, pero no mejor que tu español.
No puedo creer. Sí. Stand there and have a 20-30 minute conversation with you about anything. It could be a dilemma or it could be the start of something very special in my life. It changes everything. I'm starting this video right where I left you on the last video. Catch you up to speed. Today is my first full day in Mexico. It's the morning right now. It's about 9 in the morning. And I got in yesterday around 3. Immediately went out. I was out all night with my family and my friends. I was able to speak so much Spanish. First of all, if you are new here, I'll give you a little very brief rundown. I've been learning Spanish for a little under a year using comprehensible input, aka consuming content in Spanish. So kind of learning the lazy way. Got a little intense with it and purposely consumed a lot of content per day for many months in order to learn as fast as possible. This is my first time back in Mexico. I've been coming to Mexico every year for around 8 years, but I never knew any Spanish at all. Last time I was in Mexico was in April, and it was a little bit after I had started learning Spanish. I was about 3 weeks in. This is really my first time back knowing Spanish, being able to understand all Spanish and also speaking, you know, here and there. A lot of my videos are gonna be Spanglish videos. Yeah, if that's your thing, I hope you stick around. I actually tracked my entire journey from when I started learning. So my first video was at 100 hours of comprehensible input. I am well over 1,000 hours and I have tracked the whole thing in between so you can see what I did, how it was going, and how I got to this point today. I just want to bring you along my journey here in Mexico, speaking Spanish for the first time, what my experience is like being here for the first time with Spanish versus all the years not knowing any Spanish. I hope it's encouraging to you if you're learning Spanish or entertaining. I'm so glad you're here. First things first, what was it like my very first few moments in my first day here, which was yesterday? If you haven't watched my last video, please go watch it. Kind of my prep leading up to Mexico. I spoke a lot of Spanish in that video. It's like my first few moments here. I land in Mexico. The first thing I noticed, like going through customs, he started talking to me in Spanish and I just started speaking in Spanish and it felt very normal. I forgot to fill out like the customs form, like they usually give it on the plane, but whatever. So I kind of was rushing and got the customs form. I started filling it out and I was already finished filling it out before I realized that I had grabbed the one completely in Spanish. I didn't even have a problem. I didn't even notice. And it reminded me a few years ago, me and my family traveled to Mexico and they didn't have any forms in English. And I just remember we were so frustrated. We were like, nobody can translate. We were on the airplane, so there wasn't Wi-Fi, like all these things. We were so frustrated. And then now to be able to just fill it out and not even realize it was in Spanish, that was really cool. I go through like the second round of customs and they are looking at my form that I filled out. Immediately started speaking to me fully in Spanish, asking like, oh, you know Spanish? Are you traveling alone? Blah, blah, blah. He asked me why I don't have a boyfriend. He was like 50 years old. You know, we're joking and laughing totally in Spanish. And at this point, I'm really happy. Like, I'm like, this feels so incredibly normal to be speaking in Spanish. And I just knew, oh my God, this is about to be like the best time of my life, literally. Then I met you guys in the bathroom, in my favorite bathroom, because every time I'm there, I'm like the happiest person in the world because I just landed in my favorite place. I'm on vacation. A little chat with you guys in the bathroom. I'm gonna surprise my taxi driver because the year before, when I was 3 weeks into learning Spanish, I told him, a year from now, I'm gonna be able to speak to you the whole ride home in Spanish. And I basically said this in faith. Like, I really remember that. I had so much awe and wonder and like hope for the future just 3 weeks into my journey. And I said that to him because the language barrier has always been very strong. We can talk about some things like the weather and stuff. It wasn't like complex. We weren't really be able to talk for very long of the ride. Told you guys that in the bathroom, and I said I'm gonna surprise a taxi driver. Well, the problem was literally right when I saw him, I started speaking in Spanish. And I was like, dude, you said you were going to surprise him. We do get in the car and I do kind of like surprise him, even though I was already kind of speaking a little bit more Spanish. It was so good. I couldn't stop smiling the whole time. I've never been able to really speak to him like in depth about anything. So excited. I could tell he was like surprised and like excited. And like, a common thing here that I'm noticing is a lot of Mexicanos will kind of congratulate me like when they like hear my Spanish, you know? I think that's so sweet. At this point, I am totally buzzing. Like, I'm so excited. I arrived to the condo where we're staying and I meet the front desk person and I start speaking to him in Spanish. And I come in, I put my stuff down, take an Uber type vehicle over to where our friends are playing music. And in the car, I'm speaking to her totally in Spanish. My mom at this point was like, hey, like, you need to stop. Like, you're here to spend time with me. Like, kind of, you know, joking because in the Uber, we're just speaking Spanish and I had to be translating for my mom. So weird because it's like, obviously, people that don't know Spanish. But like in the moment when I'm like speaking with someone in Spanish, it's so easy to forget that the people you're with like have no clue what you're saying at all. I get to see all my friends. And once again, I wanted to like surprise them a little bit more. I cannot speak in Spanish and then start speaking in Spanish. But it just like comes out, you know, when you greet them. I was like, hola, ¿cómo estás? You would think that's so basic. But by the way, like people were surprised or like caught off guard, I realized that like that's how much I like didn't know before. I mean, obviously I knew that, but not enough to really be saying it comfortably or even saying it very often. Sat down and first thing I noticed is they knew I've been learning Spanish. So they were like, and how are things in Minnesota? Like in Spanish, you know, what you would think a learner might know how to say. And then I would practice saying like, very good, you know, like in slow Spanish or something. I just started speaking in Spanish. You know, at first I was a little bit nervous, and also some of them speak extremely fast. I am in Sinaloa, and the accent and everything is very different. They speak very fast. That kind of shocked me. I was like, oh my gosh, you guys are talking so fast. And I was obviously nervous, like in this moment. We started speaking in Spanish, and honestly, they were all just very shocked. Like, especially this one that doesn't speak much English at all. And I told you guys about him in my 50-hour Mexico update video. He continues to be like so shocked. He was like, no puedo creer. Like, and a lot of them, like when I'm speaking, they'll literally just be like staring at me like in shock. And if I'm speaking to one and like one is like behind, they're like, I literally can't believe it. The one that doesn't speak much English, he was like, you're literally like a different person. I like can't even understand. Like he kept saying that. He was like, you seem like a completely different person. And I'm so shocked. I can't even like comprehend this. Which I shared with you guys earlier, like before this video. And I kind of had planned to, maybe I alluded to it a little bit. Before this trip, I didn't really know how I was feeling with my Spanish. I really didn't hit like any goals, or I didn't feel like I was thriving in my Spanish journey. You would break up my entire Spanish learning journey into 4 parts, like for quarters of the year. The last quarter, which I was hoping would be the most sessions like every day, or you know, most days, hitting my reading goal, doing as much input as possible to prepare for Mexico. It was not like that at all. You guys know I was hoping to hit 1,500 hours when I got here. I'm nowhere near that. It kind of put you where I was at. Like mentally, I was like, well, I don't know. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't know. Life just got really busy. In the back of my mind, I was kind of feeling disappointed. Am I gonna feel, you know, the difference or feel like wish I did more? But that is not the case at all. Like, so crazy. I feel like I could care less that I'm not at 1,500 or any type of hours. I don't feel bad at all. There's just such a special feeling being able to connect with people on such a deeper level. I saw so many people that I've known throughout the years, and some of them were friends, but a lot of it would have been with their little English being like, oh, hello, my friend, how are you? But I still have felt really close with them, you know, just from seeing them so much throughout the years. But yesterday, my mom is like totally my wing woman. You guys know. I tell you about her shenanigans, how she's always like, speak Spanish with my daughter. She did that about 100 times yesterday with literally everyone we saw. Even if I didn't know them, she's like, come meet my daughter. And she just learned Spanish. That opened me up to a lot of conversations. And when you go from being able to only say throughout the years, like, oh, hey, like, nice to see you, you know, is it, you know, like very basic to I can stand there and have a 20-30 minute conversation with you about anything, changes everything. One thing I will say, we need to talk about this. This kind of caught me off guard, and I don't know, this is just being raw and honest with where I'm at right now. A lot of times I'm gonna be with my parents, I think. See, like, we're with our friends or their friends, whatever, but a lot of them obviously are Mexican. And one thing I noticed last night was I want to speak in Spanish. I found out really quickly, like, I do not want to speak in English at all. I started to feel bad because if you can picture, like, you're at a table and there's like 8 of us or something, or 10, we're all sitting there, but I'm speaking Spanish with like majority of them. We're just having a full conversation in Spanish. You look over and like my parents or the other people at the table that don't know Spanish, they're kind of just sitting there. And I know that that's like the most annoying thing ever. Studied abroad and I had friends. I went on a trip with 2 girls from China and it was just us 3. And when they would just talk in Chinese, like I was getting actually really irritated because it's just frustrating, of course, you know? You feel like left out and you're like not a part of the conversation. I feel like that's like a dilemma and a thing that I didn't think about. I didn't think that it was going to be so strong, or like my desire to only speak Spanish would be so strong. I just want to speak Spanish. Even yesterday when we were like watching the band and stuff, I don't know if I'm ever just kind of like sitting there or I'm around a lot of expats and stuff, I'm like itching to be somewhere where I can start speaking Spanish. It's going to be a priority this trip, is to literally practice my Spanish as much as possible. I never realized how much you could accomplish in such a short time being in a place like this versus think like back home, I'd have to schedule an hour-long conversation class via Zoom, you know. It's like totally different. Another thing that I've been doing is every time I have a question about something, I make sure to like ask right there because I'm like, this could be a learning moment and you can learn so many things. Like yesterday, I forgot the word for yawn. No, not yawn. Like having hiccups, and I had the hiccups and I was like, oh, I forgot that word. But instead of just being like, oh, I forgot, I asked. I'm like, okay, how do you say this? And I feel like that's really helped because I have already learned like so many new things. Or if there's a concept that comes up while we're together and I'm like a little bit confused about it, maybe it's like a gender thing or like an usted thing, and I'm a little bit confused, instead of just sitting there and being like, oh, I don't know, I ask and make sure I'm clear on it. So that way moving forward, that is no longer an issue. Able to order, we went for tacos and I was able to order in Spanish. And my friends, it's so funny, I was sitting between like 2 Spanish speakers, and when I was ordering, they were both just like staring at me. They're like, good job, your first order. And a lot of them are just really surprised in my Spanish and congratulating me so much. And also I met a girl yesterday that was with us, and she actually doesn't speak English, and she was my age, and she was able to be with us the whole night, and me and her just chatted. And so that was really good. And I love that feeling of being able to like include people when maybe in another circumstance, like they would kind of just be with us, but not really with us, if you know what I mean. We're gonna go to breakfast right now, and some of our friends that are in the band are playing, and it's like a mostly Mexican restaurant in the middle part, like not in the tourist areas. And so hopefully I'll be able to practice my Spanish a little bit, and we'll just see what we get up to. But thank you for being here. I'm so excited to be here. I can't believe it's only day 1, and I feel like so much has happened, and I'm going to be here for around 10 days. And so, yeah, let's just have a good day, and I will see you guys very soon.
Gracias, bienvenidos. Provechito para todos ustedes. Muchísimas gracias.
Unos chilaquiles. Creo que voy a pedir chilaquiles poblanos o chilaquiles rojos. Por favor. Sí. Really, no, No, he's really tired.
Sleepless night.
Suddenly, all is right in the world. In Mexico, I'm speaking Spanish. I'm eating los mejores chilaquiles en todo el mundo. ¿No te gusta comida que pica? ¿Nada?
¿No te gusta el chile, güey?
What?
Sí.
Porque esto es... Sí pica un poco. Sí, qué tierno.
I think
Me muero.
Café.
Como crema.
Sí.
¿O leche para mi café?
ask Pepe why it's hard for him to talk Spanish to Angela. Like he always tries.
Sí.
Ask him.
¿Por qué no puedes hablar conmigo en español?
Ah, no, sí puedo.
Sí, pero es un poco tímido.
Siento que no me va, o sea, trato de ser cuidadoso.
¿Por qué?
Porque, o sea, a lo mejor no me entiende, no sé.
Pues si no te entiende, te pregunta. No te
¿Puedo
entiende.
entender? No, está bien. Solo es broma.
You have a hack. Daughter speaks Spanish.
Ya
I
puedes
said,
hablar-
why don't you say
ya puedes
yes,
hablar
no?
español y
That's
podemos salir
just
como
yes.
amigos que ya me pueden entender.
In other parts of the world, I can I have a
¿Qué hacía
Caribbean.
eso? Ahora sí te puedo preguntar,
Hey.
¿por qué haces eso?
No me recuerdo.
No, pronuncias muy bien el español. Lo has practicado mucho.
Oh,
Lo
gracias.
has practicado mucho.
Gracias.
Porque si te hablara como hablamos en Culiacán, no me entenderías.
Es muy diferente.
Es muy diferente.
Ok.
Por ejemplo, si te dijera, Ángela, ¿qué onda para allá para la playa?
Sí, no.
Mañana iré a Mazatlán. Culiacán Spanish is. Me voy para Mazatlán.
Ya, sí. Es una
Entiendo.
locura. ¿Sí? ¿Qué hubo?
Cubo. But it's Cubo. It's very local. Very local.
Solo escuché qué onda.
¿Qué onda? Eso es más normal.
Pero,
es very normal.
Mira, se llama Lola, pero mira. My mom said that last time she spit on her. Lola. Lola. Oh my God. I just got so scared she was gonna spit on me. Chicos, vamos a la playa. Vean, mucha gente. ¿Es escuchar la banda? Mi mamá no le gusta la banda.
Ángela,
Yeah.
what's your YouTube channel?
¿Quieres estar en mi video?
Ah, no, si quieres. Espérame. Déjame peinarme.
Sí. Tienes que hablar en español.
Claro, hablando español, espérame.
¿Qué estamos haciendo?
¿Qué estamos haciendo? Ok. Estamos en la playa disfrutando de la playa, del mar y del sol.
Exacto. Como ellos también están
Aprendiendo español.
Con este método.
Ok, perfecto.
Pero pueden ver como mi camino y...
Y tú hablas muy bien el español.
Gracias.
La última vez que te vi solamente decías un par de palabras.
Exacto.
Y después de un año que te vuelvo a ver, jamás me imaginé escuchar tu voz hablando español.
Sí.
Fue como muy creepy.
Miedo.
No miedo, fue algo raro que no me esperaba.
Sí.
No lo esperaba. Pero fue al mismo tiempo muy bonito.
Sí, gracias.
Porque me puedo comunicar mejor contigo. Ya ves que yo también estoy aprendiendo cada vez más inglés.
Inglés está muy bien.
Espero que cada día esté mejor.
Sí.
Pero no mejor que tu español. Me ganaste.
Se dice la misma cosa como que está muy raro verme hablar en español.
No raro. No es algo malo, es algo bueno, es como una sorpresa.
Sí.
Una sorpresa buena, algo raro pero bueno.
Sí.
De hecho, sí. Solamente te imaginaba en mi mente cómo hablarías el español.
Ajá.
Así como imagino a tu mamá.
Sí.
La imagino hablando español, imagino a tu papá también, pero como nunca los he escuchado, la primera vez que los escuche decir palabras en español correctamente, me voy a sorprender también.
Sí, es cierto. Donut on the beach.
Tenemos that.
Está rico. No es tan dulce como en Estados Unidos. Sí.
Swear word.
What is your name?
Panocha.
The crema.
But no, that kind of bread is the name is
The swear word.
It's a swear word.
Solo esto no.
No, only that.
¿Por qué?
I don't know.
Porque hay como cosas
I
dentro.
don't know. Y se ríe.
Ok, por eso estabas.
Sí, así es.
Estaba confundida, como, ¿qué está pasando?
Por eso le dije, está aprendiendo, le dije.
I was like, ¿por qué está? Algo
No,
está
don't
raro.
worry. ¿Es de mango, veo?
Viene revuelto.
Este de mango.
Está rico. I just bought this from a beach vendor. Mira. Sí. Me encanta este tipo de cosas como con esa textura.
You will love Culiacán.
This lady is my queen. I literally love her. She's just enjoying life. Good morning, chicos. I really wanted to come up to the rooftop and chat, but there is all sorts of sounds right now. A lot of construction, just hammering, drilling away everything. I was hoping for a little bit of a more peaceful atmosphere up here. I thought we could just do a little bit of a catch up of my first full day in Mexico. Today I am going to the dentist to get my teeth cleaned. I also need to get a new retainer made because it's been a few years and mine's looking a little rough. And I don't know, we'll see what else we get up to. I'll try to take you along as much as possible. Thought we could do a little catch up of yesterday, how things went, how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking. Last night I had so much fun. I went out with a few friends for dinner. We got pizza in the downtown area, the Centro Histórico area, and it was so nice. We listened to some music from like 9 to midnight, ate pizza, and just sat, caught up for hours. It was basically all in Spanish, and so I really, really, really enjoyed that. Even the experience of like, because before I would always watch my friends like order for me in Spanish, and obviously I wouldn't know anything that they're saying. And the little things, being able to, like when the waiter comes and greets you at the table and you just understand everything. And yesterday, like, we were ordering a pizza, but it was like special. We only wanted like some ingredients on half and blah, blah, blah. And so then my friend was ordering for us, and I was able to catch that he was ordering it wrong, and one of our friends wouldn't have been able to eat it. And so I was able to chime in Spanish and tell the waiter, like, oh no, like, no, we're actually doing this. And I don't know, it's like the little things that I just didn't think about, but that are very different from my experiences in the past where, you know, you just are sitting there, you don't understand any of the Spanish that's being said. And so really being able to just feel more a part of the situation wherever you go when you're out to eat, all these things. I just love that so much. Yesterday, I showed you guys my breakfast. It's basically more inland and mostly Mexicans there. I mean, all Mexicans basically, down to almost all the waiters and the owner, like they don't speak English. I was able to speak in Spanish with the manager there because there was like a long wait and he had to like explain things for us, and he was like asking me if I speak Spanish, and then I was like, yeah, and he was shocked. He was like, but they don't speak any Spanish? And I was like, no, like, I'm sorry. When we sat down, our waitress came, and my mom actually knows her, like has met her in the past, and she does speak English. My mom is kind of friends with her. I was speaking to my parents in English, but when I ordered in Spanish and stuff. And what I loved is she continued to speak to me in Spanish the whole time. Heard of other people's experience where they'll try to be practicing their Spanish and then like the waitress or whoever just like reverts to English. But that has not happened to me here one time, which I love. I love that so much. But yeah, and then after a while, my mom was like, oh yeah, and this is my daughter. And she was like, what? Asked me in Spanish, like, you're not from Mexico? And I was like, no. And I told her I've just been learning Spanish for almost a year and all these things. And she was so shocked, and it always feels good, of course. I think also in this case scenario, not that I'm like tricking the whole world that I'm like from Mexico, because they hear me say more than a few words here and there, like sentences. They'll catch learner mistakes, of course. In this case, there was music in the background, and I was just ordering and saying like little things. But I just thought that was really cool that she was very shocked that I wasn't from Mexico. I'm really glad pertaining to when we're out to eat and stuff, the waiter's speaking to me in Spanish. They'll bring me a Spanish menu. I don't know why that has just made me feel really good. I think I would feel a little bit down if I tried to be speaking in Spanish and they kind of weren't responding in Spanish or just thinking like it's easier to speak in English with me. The thing I want to say too, I've been able to translate things for my mom with one of our friends that I told you guys about that doesn't speak any English. My mom constantly was like, can you ask him this? Can you say this? Can you say this? And it ranged from like all sorts of topics and all these random things. And I was able to translate for her. And it just feels really good to be able to do that like in the moment, you know, when you're kind of put on the spot and it's about something random, you know. Even my family be able to connect better with one of this friend because they are like really close, but of course the language barrier is hard. And so that's just been so nice to see. Like I just have an itch to be speaking Spanish all the time. And I am speaking Spanish a lot here. But the thing is, it's like every time that I'm not with my friends or something, you know, who are you speaking to? You know, like, I don't know, when you're on vacation, like I'm not really having to do that many things as in go to the grocery store. You know, when you live somewhere, you're doing all these things. You're going to the grocery store, you're getting this, maybe you're going to the gym and your gym is in Spanish. And I don't know, you're talking to more people, having to deal with more things in Spanish. And I would love that because I really feel like I'm having to kind of go out of my way a little bit more to really practice my Spanish. Because other than just ordering at the restaurant and stuff, like I want to have like conversations, you know? And so luckily I was able to meet up with my friends yesterday and really have that experience. But even today I'm like, okay, what am I going to do to be practicing my Spanish? You either have to be like really outgoing and just randomly start talking to people, which I actually have been doing way more than I would if I was speaking in English. Like yesterday on the beach, I was talking to a lot of the beach vendors. You guys saw I bought a lot of things. I almost never buy things from like the beach vendors, but I just loved talking with them. And so I kept buying things. It's kind of like a weird dilemma that I don't know. I think I didn't expect to run into. And it's like, I don't know, especially when I'm with my family and they really like to go listen to music. They have like days of the week where certain bands play at certain places and there's like all the expats there, all the people from Canada and Minnesota and other places that basically live here in the winter. And so it's kind of like a big party for the retired people of America and Canada. And they love it and I love being with them. You know, I'm on vacation. I don't really mind what I'm doing, just relaxing. But when I'm sitting there, sometimes I'm like, I'm itching to like speak to someone in Spanish, you know? And my number one dream would be to move somewhere in Latin America. My second dream would be to be able to take like months at a time to be somewhere or even be here alone because, you know, that's when you really have to do all the things in Spanish. And I can already see how much this type of environment helps you like a ton and you learn so fast. You get over the barriers so fast because you're always speaking. You can ask for clarity on things. You're getting corrections. You're having to like kind of push your abilities to talk about different things. Like if different topics come up and stuff and you have to kind of venture into that territory and be like, okay, do I know how to talk about this? Or like, do I know how to talk in the past tense or about this subject or, you know, different things like that. Even asking like the waiter or asking questions. You're in scenarios that in Minnesota, I'm not in these scenarios. If I book like a conversation call, I'm not in the scenario unless we're like role playing, but you're not really in the scenario of asking, excuse me, like, can you bring me a napkin or can I order this? Or, you know, I don't know. I'm just really happy here and I'm just going to continue to look for opportunities to really speak as much Spanish as possible. I really realized once I got here how much of a priority it is to me and something very important to me. Another thing is I enjoy music so much more now. Like we've always listened to bands, these Mexican bands, and we know them and we love them. But now it's like, it's so much more enjoyable because you understand the lyrics. I don't know. I can't explain it. And I even told my parents, I'm like, you guys would love it so much if you learned Spanish because you would enjoy this time so much more. I'm going to try to get them on the Spanish learning journey. I just love the little things, being able to understand little things, or if you're at the convenience store, like you can understand, I don't know, you just can understand everything and you can just talk to people. It's, yeah, I love it. En fin, I'm going to talk about if I've had like problems understanding anybody. I will say with this, I think it has to do with the area in Mexico that I'm in. Like I'm almost 100% sure of that. They have a different way of talking, especially when they're talking like full pace. It sounds like it's all like jumbled together. There's been a few times, not many, but a few, my Uber drivers or like the security guy here, he knows I speak Spanish and like we've been chatting every time I see him. But sometimes I think like they think that I am a native. Not because like they see me speaking, but you know, if you hear me speak a little and they might just think, oh yeah, she knows Spanish. So they will just start like rattling it off and I can't explain it. It just sounds like a bunch of a long string, like gibberish or something. Yesterday, I had to basically program my like thumbprint to get in the building, and the guy was just like talking to me, and then he started like joking around with me. You know, we were talking. And I was like, oh my God, I don't really know if I'm catching everything that he's saying. I think it's different like when I'm sitting down having a conversation with people. But when it's things, I think this is what it is. I think when it's things like in passing, like for example, yesterday at the breakfast restaurant when I had to talk to the manager, it was very busy. He was telling us, oh, there's a line. How many people do you have? Like, where do you want to sit? It was like that. And so it wasn't like, hey, like, how's your day? And how long have you been learning Spanish? It was like, he just started going and I was like, whoa, this is super different. The thing that I want to talk to you guys about and just be real with like where my head's at right now, yeah, just like ever since being here, obviously Spanish has been a really big part of my life for the past year, but in a very different way. Like, you know, I'm at my home, I'm listening to content in Spanish, but I'm still working and doing all the things that are just like part of reality. Ever since being here, I have noticed like, oh my gosh, I have such a strong desire for Spanish to be such a bigger part of my life. I'm less than 2 days in to my trip, and I'm already thinking about going back home to Minnesota, where I don't speak Spanish to anybody other than on my like Zoom call sessions for conversation practice. That was like a really hard pill to swallow all of a sudden. Like now that I've had this experience, I was like, oh my gosh, I just want my life to like align way more with Spanish now. I don't know how to explain it. I hope you guys are kind of understanding what I'm trying to say. I was thinking pretty deep last night, like, okay, what am I gonna do in order to make some changes or do something? Because the idea of being in Minnesota and never speaking Spanish, really, other than the odd time that I like run into someone that speaks Spanish, I hate that. And so it's like, yeah, okay, come to Mexico once a year on your vacation. Like that? No, that just doesn't even feel right anymore. We're gonna see. I think it's really easy, you know, you get comfortable in whatever life and reality you find yourself in. And I think that change is really hard, and making big decisions is hard. And so I just want to make it a priority to at least not stop thinking about this and not just go home and sink back into reality, but really be like, okay, what can I do to support my dreams and desires in this moment? So we'll see what we need to do. I even went as far, I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? Like, can I get a part-time job at least at like a I don't know, a grocery store that, you know, a Mexican grocery store or something like. But even that feels like it wouldn't be enough. But I'm like, I need something. I need something to feel like I'm a part of this. I do feel like I'm facing a dilemma. It could be a dilemma, or it could be the start of something very special in my life. I don't know. Obviously, I'll keep you guys posted. Pero sí. Nos vemos. We just finished getting our nails done. So awesome being able to speak Spanish. Even if I have to speak it like a roundabout way to get my point across. The two ladies that did our nails, they both didn't speak any English. Only so much that you can use like hand gestures for. We ran into a few situations where you just like wouldn't be able to get your point across, maybe without using like Google Translate. Just being able to translate for my mom and communicate like what she was wanting. I wanted to buy some product, but the product was looking a little bit different than what we've bought before. And so my mom was like, we're trying to explain like, but the color looks different and we've bought it before. And so we're just wondering like, is this the same product and all these things? And you just wouldn't be able to, I mean, you wouldn't be able to ask that if, you know, you don't speak the language. So sorry, I literally lost my mother. Let me see if she went into this convenience store. Oh yeah. Ahí está. Being at the dentist earlier and getting my teeth cleaned, even just being able to like understand the interactions between the two working on my teeth and things like that. Finding these little things that I didn't expect to kind of notice or enjoy. I'm very happy. I'll check in with you guys a little bit later. Sí o sí necesito unos tacos más tarde en la noche. Cerca de una persona es como, no sé.
¿No quieres decir algo?
A taco place, that looks good. Pues nos vemos más tarde, ¿no? Like the Spanish is just like more there. Go en español.
Escuchar el acento, que quieran escucharme hablar.
How many cats I would have if I lived here? Told you that I would be so transparent with you. Sí, aprender español. Hace un año. Sí.
¿Ya llevas avanzada?
Pero a mí no me gusta los frijoles. Just the connections that you're able to make. It's very, very different.